The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. To get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as early access to all of our episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more, head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers today and consider lending support to the show. Without further ado, let's hop into the show. Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 132 of The Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, giving out games for the Game of the Deer Awards. I'm your host, Logan.
And I'm his co-host, Adam.
It's weird not having a title before host this time around. I couldn't think of anything, and
That's why I've kind of just going with I'm the co-host.
Yeah.
You know, every once in a while you'll give me some name, but that's just I'm not the I'm the, what do you call me, the handsome bearded man or something like that. But yeah. I just kind of play it straight into the point. Rarely will I be a new co-host, but I could be the hopefully clear sounding co-host.
I'm gonna say that new mic I used does sound better. I'm not gonna lie.
Got that new mic. Thankful to the old dear listener Jesse Knopp.
Ah, my boy Jesse Knopp.
Like, it's so fancy. I don't really know what to do with it. I've kind of had to revamp my podcasting setup. I'm sitting in our bedroom because I can't do it in our other bedroom because that's where Ren sleeps. Mm-hmm. So I've got a TV tray on the side of my bed, and I've got a makeshift desk. So we're making it work, though.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will only benefit you, dear listeners, with that crispy, mumbling voice that Adam Sutherland is. So,
and the cool thing is, I've actually, some of our patrons have been hooking us up with some ideas, some ways and different programs we can use to make the audio quality sound better. So if there's one I'm going to look at over our winter break and kind of play with and see how that works. So it might even sound even clearer, man, with that new bougie mic that you have, as some of the kids would say. It's a new word I learned from my students is bougie. Now, it's probably a bad word, and I don't know it because that's how it goes in youth ministry. But we'll find out if I get an angry tweet or something like that. So before we get into the show, dear listeners, sorry for the late recording on this, the late release of this. It's like we said pre-show. It is a crazy, crazy month this December. It's just schedules have not been very flexible. But hey, we're getting it out to you. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this episode. No, you will. You will enjoy this episode. You always do. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into the show. Over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers is where you can support us if you like the show and you want to help the show out a little bit financially. You can go there and check that out. We have recently updated the tiers, added some new ones, changed a couple of the rewards around. So maybe if you didn't get the message or if you haven't been over there in a while, head on over there and see kind of what are some of the it only took a few minutes for me to get that cough in. I'm sorry. But check on over the Patreon stuff in case you missed it and see the different rewards are. Some of you that have been supporting at various tiers are getting new goodies at this point. You guys are getting new rewards, so check those out. Enjoy those. But yeah, patreon.com/thereformedgamers. You guys can always check that out. And for all of the dear listeners, next week on Christmas Eve, keep an eye on your podcast catcher because we'll be dropping a special gift just for you guys on your podcast feeds to listen to and enjoy a little bit. It won't take up too much of your time because family time. Spend that time with your family. But yeah, you'll enjoy it. It'll be a nice little Christmas gift. It'll be fun and all that good stuff. But Adam, good sir, you know how we do on the show. When we get into the show, we like to talk about a little bit of what we've been playing. Should we just, is this the point of the show where we should just change the name to the VR Bros and we just talk about how great PlayStation VR is? Yeah, man.
Let's go.
Because we both got one around Black Friday, right? I got one on Black Friday. I braved Walmart. It wasn't near as terrifying as what I thought it would be. And you got one as well. We've been playing it for a while. So tell me about it, man. What has been your experience like with the PlayStation VR? Is it everything you hoped and dreamed that it would be?
Yes. I mean, it was one of those things where I sat there and went back and forth with, probably to the annoyance of my wife. Like, I can't even really explain how much over, because we're at Thanksgiving and I'm sitting there wrestling with it in my mind. Should I do it? Should I don't? Am I going to play it? I know she doesn't necessarily really want me to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I literally I was all over the place just considering it. And then our boy and from the Facebook group and also in the TRG auction house, you can join that if you'd like, if you're not currently there. He posted his Skyrim bundle for like 180, and I'm like,
Man, that's tempting.
Yeah. And so I was talking it out. I'm like, I think I could sell Hannah on it if I can get it a little bit lower. So he worked with me on the price, hooked me up big time. So huge shout out to Derek Villa.
So when you said that you thought you could sell Hannah, I literally thought you were going to end it there. I'm like, wait a minute, what? I'm so confused. Okay, I got what you're saying though. You were gonna.
So I got her on. Well, I can't say I really ever got her on board, but I got her where she was like, just do whatever you want. So I wore her down enough.
It was a battle of attrition.
Like, she's like, I just want you to stop talking about it. So do whatever will shut you up. Man. And I'm like, talking. I'm like, I can do this to save some money. I can do this, like finagling all of these funds,
like the king of thrift
so I could pull it off. Exactly, really pulling together all my resources. So I was able to get one, and I was like, it took it like a week or so to get here, and so I'm like, so I picked up Astrobot. I knew, again, because he hooked me up so much, it came with the motion controllers, so that was a big selling point. So I could get Beat Saber.
Yeah,
and so it has been worth. So I've been playing some Beat Saber, and so I'll let you jump in on this also here in a second. But that was one where I'm like, okay, this is the game that I can get to sell other people on it. So I'm thinking, I've got a dorm of 180 guys. I've got friends that come over, family. Like, I need a game that I can say, hey, try this. What's the Guitar Hero or the Just Dance on the Wii? What can I give someone a controller and just say, hey, you'll figure it out, and it's just natural. So I set that up in the lobby last night of the dorm I oversee, and the guys were loving it. I mean, they're over there sweating. Some of them were like jumping on Expert, just going ham on it. I mean, it was so much fun just watching them enjoy the game, and so I've been enjoying that. Like, what's been your experience with Beat Saber?
I love it. And what's funny is that, when I got the VR, we tried out, because I got the bundle that was there on, you could find at most places, that came with Astrobot and Moss. And my wife, tried out Moss, and she was like, okay, VR is pretty cool. But then we got Beat Saber, and that just changed everything. We were playing it. We were doing the party mode where you could play a song. It would put your name on the leaderboard kind of thing, and then you can kind of go back and forth. And so we just had a date night where we were just playing that and trying to beat each other's scores, and it was a blast, man. Beat Saber is that's a cool game. Like, and you hit it on the head there with, what is the Guitar Hero game that I can get people in on this game, and even non-gamers, how can I get them in on this? And that is the game, essentially, to the gateway game, for VR, I would say, it's cool. The songs on it, I mean, the song selection is small, at least on PS4, but man, it works so smoothly, and the tracking is really good. I love it. It's one of my favorite VR games that I have right now. Yeah.
And I'm still figuring out a lot of things with, like, the first time I played it, I didn't have my camera set up quite right. So now I've got it where, like, on top of my TV, and this is where I'm thankful to have all these. I've got all these engineer majors with like 3D printers. I've actually got some students. I'm like, hey, I need your help. So I bring them in my apartment, and I'm like, I need you to make me something that I can set on my TV so that I can set my camera on top of this. So they like came in and they were measuring my TV, measuring my camera. So hopefully in the next couple of days before they leave for break, I'm going to have like this little like cradle So it's not, because I had to just kind of jimmy rigged on top of my
Mm-hmm.
TV so it would track, but I'm going to have like a nice little thing that'll like sit on it. And so once I got that set up, it was going good. Kind of getting still figuring out the headset, how to get it adjusted right.
Mm-hmm.
But once you get it going, man, it is a lot of fun. I haven't got Hannah on it quite yet. She was kind of just laughing at me the first time I played, but she'll warm up. I'll get her over break. We'll get the students gone. We'll get Ren down for a nap.
There you
and
go.
we'll be like, all right, you're up. And so trying to figure out, I kind of made a commitment of, when I said I'm not going to play it if you and Ren are awake, just because I don't want to be like, it's one thing to play games while Hannah and Ren are there, but I'm still not like totally disconnected. But as soon as you put that headset on, it's just another layer of disconnect.
Oh yeah.
So I try not to do that too much unless it's like they're both went to bed or they're out shopping or something. I'm home by myself. So I try not to do it too much. But I had another opportunity a few days ago while they were gone, and I got to play Astrobot.
Oh, tell
Have
me
you got
about
to play
it.
Astrobot?
I haven't gotten to play it yet. I don't want to play it just yet because I haven't finished Moss. So the moment I finish Moss, I'll get into it. But it seems like everybody in the group that has a PSVR has been telling me, dude, you need to stop playing Moss and play Astrobot. So, dude, tell me why I should play this game.
It rocked my world.
Whoa.
And I'm not even that far in where, because I was talking to Mike and I'm like, he's like, what world are you on? I'm like, I'm only on the first one. I was kind of slow rolling it.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to like rush through it because I don't know how long it is. So I'm like 3 worlds in, and it's so cool. Like, it's not like this, amazing story. The gameplay's fun, of course, but you throw in the VR and it's just like, it's that next level of just, this is just cool. This is awesome. Like, this is so much fun. So it's like a Mario, people have been describing it as like a Mario game, and it very much is. It's a 3D platformer. You're collecting coins, you're rescuing these other little robots, but you're like a floating kind of like robot. So you're using your normal controller. So you kind of start off, and they don't really tell you a lot. They kind of tell you, okay, this jumps, this punches, but you don't get to control the camera. So you're basically the camera. So as you're moving your character forward, the camera moves forward, but at any point you can stop and just turn around. So that's kind of the cool thing. So you'll be moving forward and you'll just stop, and you just look backwards, and there's hidden coins, there's hidden robots. And so there's this like, it's just this really cool world of like, there's some points where I've got like a chair where I'm like sitting down as I play it kind of in front of my camera.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a couple points where I needed to stand up so I could like look over a ledge. And so it's like, it's just crazy cool. Like, you're looking around corners, you're bending down, looking under stuff. It's just a really cool. You're constantly like just looking all the way around. Like with Beat Saber, you're basically just looking forward, and it's cool because it's immersive or whatever. But this game is like that to the next level where you literally have to look everywhere. You're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking behind you, over your shoulder. Like, when you move forward, you want to look back to make sure you didn't miss something. So it's kind of like a little collect-a-thon to a degree, like a lot of 3D platformers of like, you want to get all the coins, you want to get all the robots, but the way that they integrate just the world is really neat. Now, it's not like, so far, again, I'm not that far. I'm only 3 levels in, so it's not especially hard yet, and I'm wondering if it's going to get more difficult. But it's just cool. That's how I would describe it. It's not like, again, some game of the year, but when you play it, you're just like, wow, this is what VR is supposed to be. Like, this is that immersion. This is that just cool. Again, it's not something you show a gaming friend this game. Like, I wouldn't show like some random person like, hey, play this game necessarily. But if I've got a friend that's into gaming and they're like, show me VR, I'm showing them this before I show them Beat Saber. Like, Beat Saber is a fun party game, but Astrobot's a game where I'm like, this is what VR is all about, and the immersion. It's pretty awesome.
See, hearing you describe it, it sounds so much like what Moss it does too, because there's times where I've had to stand up and kind of look around the area that I'm in Moss, but it seems like Astrobot is a little bit of a more, I don't want to say open world, but kind of open world game.
It's just more of a, from my understanding of Moss, it's like, I think you described it as kind of like a interactive storybook, of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
This is a 3D platformer. They could have created, Astrobot could be a normal non-VR game. Now, it wouldn't be as much fun. It's relatively somewhat basic on the platforming, but the VR is what makes it like cool, what makes it really good.
Okay.
And so it's not, I wouldn't say it's open world. I mean, it's kind of like Mario Galaxy, because it's set in space. You've got these worlds, you pick your world, you kind of fly to it. And so there's like different parts of the world on this planet.
Okay.
So, but then once you select your level, your world, it's like a start finish, pretty linear, but it's a 3D platformer. So think Mario Galaxy, think Mario 64. There's a little bit of exploring you can do on the level, but it's still relatively linear, and like, this is your start, that's your finish, but you got to check every corner, you got to check every nook, you've got to look for every little secret built within that level. But it's not like you're just kind of going everywhere in this massive open world. It's like within this level, you got to make sure you explore everything.
Okay. Huh. Well, I'm definitely interested to try it out, but like I said, I gotta finish Moss first. Otherwise,
finish
my
Moss
OCD.
first. I get that. Finish Moss, and then you got to check it out next, because it's a lot of fun. I'm excited. Students are leaving Saturday, so next week we kind of got a week here at the house. So I'm excited to get into that game more specifically than even Beat Saber, because that's, again, a party game. But that'll be a game where I'm like, all right, Hannah and them are kind of out for a little bit, or hey, can you watch her and I want to play this, and so she can even watch me play it. It's so much fun.
Man, I'm excited to try it out. Now I know it's been a while, so is there anything else you've been playing besides that?
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption update. I finished the main story. I'm in the epilogue. I finished the first part of the epilogue, and I think I'm about halfway through the second one. So I'll probably finish it in the next, I'm guessing 2 to 3 hours, unless the missions are a little bit longer. And they might be, because they're going to be wrapping up the whole story, kind of leading into the original, since this is a prequel. So I'm pretty close. I've enjoyed it. Still, from what we said in the last episode, it's got its issues. Those things don't really go away throughout the entire game. They kind of remain, but the story gets better. So that kind of kept me chugging. And, it wasn't something where I never regretted playing the game, but I kind of have given it a really strong push these last couple days. So I'm going to be a little burnt out. I don't see myself really getting into the online, because I've put so much time and effort into finishing it, so that I can get into, I want to let a buddy borrow it. That's part of why I'm pushing through. But I'm excited to get into more Smash, and I'll talk about that here in a second. I'm excited to get into more VR. I'm excited to play some Rise of the Tomb Raider. So I'm kind of ready to just push through and finish. But it's a really good game. I'm not going to act like it's my favorite game I've ever played, but it's a really good game in my opinion. It's definitely got its flaws, like a lot of games do. But so I've been playing that, and then I got to play a little bit of this Smash Bros. Ultimate.
So good.
Now, I've got my beef with this game too.
Okay, let me hear your beef. Let's roast it.
And you kind of got on me in the Facebook group, and I say touche to a degree, but they didn't have to do it like this. So I hate that you start the game with only 8 characters.
Oh. Yeah.
For as someone who, a main way that I will play this game is going to be with other people, specifically guys in the dorm. The fact that I can't kind of just jump in with those guys and get into it, I could, but there's only 8 of the 70 characters unlocked, and that's pretty frustrating. And so I feel like I'm kind of having to just grind and play the game in a way that I wouldn't naturally play it to unlock every character. There's like you can look online and forums and stuff, and they're like, this is the quickest way to unlock every character. So I'm kind of going about it that way, which I know you could play the World of Light mode or whatever, and that would also unlock it. But
I hear that.
I just want to have it where I was
going to say, I hear that the World of Light method takes you a ridiculously long time to get all the characters, and that it's not the most recommended method.
So I'm just kind of, now I am enjoying the kind of grind, and that, I'm kind of getting to 1v1. I'm getting to practice some different characters. I am getting to experience some of the different worlds that each character kind of has specifically for them. Like, that is still fun. Like, the game is still fun as I'm doing it. But I feel like because of the way that they released all the characters, they're forcing me to play the game in a way that I don't really want to, that I wouldn't naturally play So I'm not against having to unlock characters, but 62 characters, like that's crazy to make me like. I would say give us 40, give us 50, make me have to unlock maybe the 20 new characters or whatever ones that I've never been in one. Like make me unlock those. But the fact that I have to do 62 characters is just pretty obnoxious to me. But I had a good time. We were playing 8-man Smash last night with 2 4-player GameCube adapters, and man, we had a blast. It was chaos. It was crazy, but I was holding my own with Robin. She's kind of my main right now. I can spam some distant attacks. I've got some of her power attacks kind of down, so she's my current main right now. But every once in a while I'll mess with Shulk. I like Shulk, and so but it's fun. I'm looking forward to also getting to play some more of that over the next. That's a game that you just kind of pick up and play for the next forever, so I've also been playing some of that, but I'm not very deep. I think I've unlocked 25 characters or so on my console. So, but yeah, that's what I've been playing. I know it's a little bit longer, just talking about VR and stuff. So, but yeah, that's where I'm at.
Right on. Well, I mean, I got a lot of what I've been playing. Talking into what yours, because we've been playing some similar games. I do want to talk a little bit more about Super Smash Brothers, and see, it's interesting that you don't really like the method of unlocking characters, but I personally love it, just because I didn't really play the Super Smash Brothers game on the Wii U, so a lot of those characters that were in that game I didn't get to play as. So I'm seeing these the method of unlocking characters in this one as a way of like getting to try out new characters, and especially going through classic mode, getting some really good hands-on time with those characters is giving me an idea of like, maybe this is one I'm gonna use as like my main character, or maybe this one is just not for me, because I got to play as the villager from Animal Crossing the other night, and I hated it. I'm like, I don't like this at all. But I don't know. I'm surprised by this game in so many ways, just because there's so much in this game, from the music to the spirit characters, which have replaced the trophies, which kind of frustrates me. I actually really like the trophies from the past games, but I'm also a trophy hunter, so maybe there's a little bit of a bias there. But just seeing kind of all the like fan service is really amazing. Like, when you play through classic mode, some of the final bosses that you face, depending on who you play as, is so mind-blowingly cool. A little bit of a spoiler here, but whatever. If you get to the end of classic as Simon Belmont, you fight Dracula, both forms of him from Castlevania, and I'm like, this is stinking cool. Like, I'm not fighting the Master Hand. I'm fighting the final boss that Simon Belmont would fight in his game. Like, so the little stuff like that, seeing the way that different support characters come in, like Shovel Knight, or who's another one? Cyborg Ninja. I don't think that's what his name is. I think it's like Silver Fox from Metal Gear Solid. Seeing him show up and jump around the map and knock people out is so stinking cool. And what's funny is, I've never really been a huge fan of Super Smash Brothers. I've always respected the game and always enjoyed it as like a party game to get together with friends, but it's never really been a game that I would get particularly hyped for. But this one, it's a lot of fun. Now, I will say this, people know me for my flip-flops. People know me for my flippy floppies and how my opinion changes a lot. So we'll see if this opinion holds, but I have a feeling that it will, primarily because of what you said. It's a good pick up and play game. I love being able to pick this game up, play a couple matches, put it down, and then I'm good to go. Like, to me, this is, I'm not going to say game of the year just yet. We'll see what actually is my game of the year. But I will say that this, at least so far, is a near perfect game. I haven't played a whole lot of World of Light, so I don't know exactly how that whole thing works. But so far, what I've played has left a great impression on me. I am really, really enjoying this game. It's a lot of fun. So, anyway, dear listeners, if you if you guys want to duke it out, let us know, and we'll play, and we'll see how that goes. You guys will probably beat me because I'm not very good at the game, but it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, apart from that, That's what I've been playing. Now, Adam, man, hopefully we've gotten some time to read. Been a couple of weeks, but what have you been reading, man? What have you been up to in that regard?
I can't remember where I was at last time in regards to books that I've been reading. I finished up the Rosaria Butterfield book. I think I talked about that last episode. So I've kind of just been. I haven't really got into any specific books, just outside of my just devotion and stuff. I've got a couple. Well, I picked up one I got as a gift for Christmas a couple years ago that I like to read over break, just so I can. My brother-in-law got asked me for a gift. It's called The Crook in the Lot, or A Crook in the Lot. It's an old Puritan paperback. So hopefully I'll get to that, or another book. I've been buying books. I tell you that, there are a bunch of sales on Kindle. So I've bought a lot of books that who knows if I'll ever read for $1 or 99 cents, or for $1 or $1.99. So we'll see if I can get to those. But yeah, reading has just been hard. But I do just want to talk about something I read the other day. Actually, it was this morning of the day that we're recording. It's in Luke. Let me pull up those notes. Luke 23, verse 34. And so it's talking about, you've got Christ on the cross, and he's kind of talking to the criminals. And so one of the criminals is saying, "Are you the Christ? Save yourself, us." The other one's like, "Don't you fear anything?" Yada, yada, yada. But then he says, "Today you'll be with me in paradise." And he continues on. It's the 6th hour, the darkness, all this stuff. But then Jesus calling out in verse 46. Then Jesus calling out with a loud voice says, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And so as I was reading that, and I like to read the different commentaries with my Devo. And so I'm reading through the Christ-Centered Exposition commentary by Thabiti. And he mentions this. I'm pulling it up real quick. He says, "Then Christ cries in a loud voice, 'Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit.' What a declaration of faith and act of trust the Son of God models for us. What should be our confession too? Come what may, into the hands of our loving Father, we commit ourselves to God." So it was with Christ. In the hour of his death, our Lord focused his attention on his Father. The Father who sent him into the world prepared his body for him, ordained that he should suffer and die. The same God is worthy of our commitment. He says, no matter our circumstance and what befalls us, let us, by God's grace, learn to declare, "Father, into your hands I entrust my spirit." For those hands will never lose us. No one will ever slip through the omnipotent fingers. No one will ever pluck us from those hands. That's the kind of focus on the Father that drives and sustains commitment. So I don't know what it's been, just maybe over the last couple of years as we went through our adoption journey, as we're going through this kind of other, hopefully here in the next couple weeks to 3 weeks, I'll be able to share something with the listeners just about kind of this other journey that God's kind of been taking us on. Kind of as we not prepare for the worst, but always kind of know that in the background, something bad could happen. Life could trip us up. There could be a trial. But as I've talked with Hannah, saying, how can we best prepare ourselves for this other circumstance? So we're hoping for the best, but if the best doesn't happen, how do we prepare for that? And so just this idea of whether it's good or bad or pain or suffering, Lord, into your hands I commit my spirit. Lord, I trust you. I commit myself to you. And so whether that's a cross that you call me to bear, or that's a joyous blessing that you have bestowed upon us, Lord, we want to commit our spirit to you. And so just something for the listeners, whether you're going through something that's good or something that's bad and you're struggling, committing your spirit to the Lord, committing that suffering, committing that trial, committing that joy to him, and entrusting yourself and your family to him as Christ emulated. Again, as he is literally on the cross bearing our sins, he is committing again his trust, his spirit to the Lord. So that was just something that stuck out to me today as I was in my Devo, of trying to daily, through day, not just lives, but through the day-to-day ups and downs, entrusting my spirit to the Lord and trusting my commitment to him as the sustainer of my hope and joy. So that's something that stuck out to me in my reading.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So as far as for me, this whole semester, the whole school semester, I've been going through this series that I've called Reflect with my students, and it's designed around, because I asked a couple of the students at the end of the summer, hey, what are some things you guys wrestle with? What are some things that you guys deal with? And so it was designed around the responses that I got. And over the past few weeks, we've been talking about, really a big focus of the series has been like identity and putting our identity in Christ. And given our culture, at least in regards to how we put our identity in things such as like our sexual identity or gender and things like that. One thing I wanted to focus on kind of as we end the year and wrap up the series is our identity in Christ in regards to what it means to be a biblical man and what it means to be a biblical woman. And then kind of steering that towards talking about dating. And then we'll be talking about marriage here later this week. But the past week, we focused on dating, and I told my students straight up, like, hey, the Bible doesn't say anything about dating per se, because in the time period that the Bible was written, dating wasn't even a thing. It was more arranged marriages, and that kind of shocked and scared some of my students, just at the idea that their parents might set them up with someone. But I thought the responses was entertaining, to say the least. But something I zoned in on was, and really kind of where I built a foundation off of when it comes to dating as it leads into marriage, is 1 Corinthians 13:11 that says, when I was a child, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. Now, it's ironic that I bring up this verse on a gaming podcast, because I've seen just about every blog under the sun use this verse to tear down gaming. But tonight, I want to use it to kind of say this, is that dating and even marriage is not for children. It's for men. It's for women created in the image of God who have their identity in Christ, that are being transformed by the renewing of their mind. Because the thing is, when it comes to relationships, period, it could be dating, marriage, or it could just be friendships, you can't be childish. And what I mean by that is you can't be selfish. A child only cares about what they want. They don't care about hurting other people's feelings to get what they want. Whereas adults are very cognizant of that. They're very aware of that. And so as you go into just living life with other people in your local church, or if you're dating, or if you're married, you can't be selfish. Because here's the thing. If we're to emulate Christ, if we're to be like Christ, Christ wasn't selfish. And so there's times where we're going to have to sacrifice some of our wants, and maybe even some of our, we're going to have to sacrifice some of our wants or desires to better minister to other people, or to better love and serve other people. This is the thing that we like to bring up on the show, that we don't shy away from this. Men that are married, sometimes you need to put the controller down. You need to go love on your wife. Even if you've had a rough day at work, you're exhausted, that doesn't mean you get to kind of shirk your responsibility for that night. You don't. And I told my students this. It's like, and I told my students that, excuse me, the honest truth is, some of you, even those of you listening, aren't ready to date. Some of you aren't ready for marriage. And I don't say that to shame anybody. I say it so that you can be like, okay, what do I need to work on? And that's when you get into the Bible. You pray, you grow, you are being renewed by reading his word. And then you are being transformed from that to be the one for someone else. Because so often I see in youth groups, the students ask like, oh, well, how do I know I found the one? Or how do I find the one? It's like, stop trying to find the one and focus on being the one for someone else instead. And that's wise wisdom that my mentors growing up in college tried to tell me. But I was a child, and I was like, no, that's stupid. I don't like that answer. But it's true. You've got to follow God. It says that, you seek first the kingdom of God, and then all these other needs will be given to you. Mm-hmm. You focus on that first, and God's going to take care of the rest. I didn't believe that when I was in college. I didn't believe that when I was in high school. But when I went to seminary and I was just focused on being a youth pastor, studying and growing in Christ, getting involved in a church, God brought me my wife and kind of sidewinded me. And I'm like, I wasn't expecting this, but he did. And that's the thing in just life in general. It starts with that. You know, you can't be selfish. You cannot be a Christian and be selfish. It doesn't work. It's incompatible. So you have to focus on Christ.
You can't do it well.
True. You can't do it well. But that's oh my gosh, I'm coughing, so I'm going to go ahead and end it there and mute my mic, and we'll move on to the next thing. But I'm just going to leave it there, dear listeners. 1 Corinthians 13:11. Check it out, read it, wrestle with it, see what you think, and then go from there. With that being said, Adam, it's that time of the year, man. It's that most wonderful time of the year that we remember Christ's birth, that we remember his sacrifice, that we remember his salvation, that he has bought for us, but we also get the fun opportunity to hand out some fake awards that have no monetary value, but have every value to us, and that is the Game of the Deer Awards. I don't know if that's what we're actually going to go with from now on, but I thought it was a cute title.
Game of the Deer or the Deer Game Awards.
There you go, Game of the Deer Game Awards. I love it. So we have a couple different, excuse me, we have a couple different awards that we're going to hand out tonight here on the show. I posted them on our Facebook page, posted them in the Facebook group. I posted them just about everywhere. I think I posted them in the bathroom stall at JCPenney's. So the awards that we're going to hand out are very we're just going to have fun with it is what we're going to do. And dear listeners, if you have any recommendations for these or some nominees, let us know on Twitter, Facebook, TRG, Patreon, Discord if you're in there. But let's start off with this one, Adam. The most coveted broken controller award. This award goes to the game that truly tested our patience and at times tested our witness as Christians, man. So what is the one game that you played in 2018 that you want to give the broken controller award to?
I think there's some different nominees that I played, and again, we didn't play everything, so there's some of our caveats. You may be in like, right. So that we may even skip a game because we just didn't get to it.
Yeah.
So a game that I could have put Celeste. While this game is great, it was also extremely difficult at different times.
True.
And so that's one game where it's like, you're trying to just get that last strawberry or try to get to the next level, and you just failed 100 times, and you're like, okay, I gotta go set this thing down for a while. But the game that I chose for my Broken Controller Award is Salt and Sanctuary. I picked it up on the Switch. I know it came out a couple years back on PlayStation 4 and Vita, but it came out this year on the Switch. And that was a game where I talked about it a lot on the podcast. It was a ton of fun, but man, it was hard. There were different bosses that I'd be like, I would just leave angry and I would need to go get good, as they like to say. But I didn't want to invest the time in getting good. I just wanted to beat the stinking boss. And so that is my coveted Broken Controller Award winner, is Salt and Sanctuary.
It's a good pick, man. It's a good pick. I almost put it on there, but then I remembered that I only played that game for an hour this year. So, I guess maybe that's a good indicator that I almost broke the controller if I only played for an hour, but I was actually pretty calm during that game. So, again, like you said, we don't play everything. So there might be a game on here that, dear listeners, you would say is a better pick. So let us know on Twitter or Facebook. But the game that I want to put on here, the game that I want to give this award to, is Hollow Knight. This is a game that came out on PC a while ago, as some folks in the group have mentioned. But it came out on the Switch and PS4 and Xbox One this year. And so it was my first time playing it. And I'm not going to lie. And I will say this. I do really enjoy the game. I really, really do. It's one of my favorite games of the year. But, man, that game is hard. And it's funny how it lures you into this false sense of security, and then it just demolishes you with certain bosses. It's fun, it's exciting, but it's brutal. It will not hold back with some of these bosses. So you really have to get good, and you have to really manage your charms and your loadout really, really well, or effectively, I should say, to make it through some of these crazy situations. But what's cool is, you have all this extra content stuff from the DLC in there too that I haven't even touched yet. So I am looking forward to probably actually breaking a controller or two getting to that content, but Hollow Knight gets my Broken Controller award. So on to our next award, the Instant Classic Award. Now, this is the game that came out, or at least the game that we played this year, that will stand the test of time, that we will be able to come back to a year from now, years from now, and enjoy again and again and again. So, Adam, what game gets your Instant Classic Award?
Even as you read it, I'm kind of like rethinking everything because I realize I've got kind of my running list of games that I've played along with my GG app, my games played. Mm-hmm. And I forgot about Super Smash Brothers. I think that is a nominee. I don't think I'm going to put it because I haven't really got enough into it.
Sure.
But that, with every Smash game, whether it's Brawl, Melee, the Wii U version, if it can give people a reason to go to their Wii U, maybe the only reason to play their Wii U, Smash Brothers was a great one, and so people love to go back and play Smash Brothers. So I think that's a good nominee, but I didn't think of that one before just right now. The game I put down for an Instant Classic, this will not be the Game Awards. This game will not go without winning something good, and so my answer is Spider-Man.
Yes.
I think that this is a game that is gonna stand up. I think the mechanics are tight. I think going through the city and swinging through just feels right. Who knows what graphics will look like in 15, 20 years, so it's hard to judge that. But the gameplay, the story is good enough. It was just a fun game that you didn't have to, once you start unlocking outfits and stuff like that, you just kind of, okay, what Spider-Man do I want to be? And how do I want to approach it? Do I just want to go around the city fighting crime and be in that friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that sometimes the game forces you to do? Or do I want to just go and kind of do missions and kind of get some of these different objectives with each mission and trying to, get every check and every box marked off? But that's kind of my pick for the Instant Classic. I want to make sure I got it on here because this game was great and it deserves something, even though it kind of got overlooked at the Game Awards. But so my Instant Classic is Spider-Man for the old PlayStation 4.
It's a great pick, man. Great pick. Great game, too. Really, gosh, that's such a good game. Such a good game. So as far as what game I want to give the Instant Classic Award to, this is a game that unfortunately kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people. I remember talking about it in the group, and some people were going, what is this game? I've literally never even heard of it. And I want to give the Instant Classic Award to Celeste, because that game graphically I think will definitely stand the test of time. It's beautifully designed. The music is amazing too. I bought both soundtracks after playing the game. It's so good. The controls are tight. The way that you can modify the game to make it as easy as you want or as hard as you want is fantastic. I love that level of accessibility, and the story in it too is just really, really good. And it hits you in ways that I didn't think it would. And I wasn't expecting it to be a game talking about really mental health and dealing with anxiety and things like that, but doing it in a way that feels empowering, yet very charming, yet scary at times. It's a really, really amazing game, and it's one of my favorites, and it's a game that I got the Platinum Trophy for, so there you go. So not only did it give me a trophy, I'm going to give it a trophy in return, and that is my Instant Classic Award goes to Celeste. Fantastic game.
I remember when that game came out, and I was like, how in the world did this game just get a 10 out of 10 on IGN? Like, never heard of it. I'm like, it's a 2D pixel platformer, and I'm like, there's no way this game is as good. But hearing all the people talk about it, you got into it a little bit before I did, and everyone's just ranting and raving about this game, and I'm like, so I get it, and I'm playing it back home in Michigan, and I'm like, it's one of those games, again, I think we talked about it when we played it back when we were playing it, just one more level. One more level.
That's it.
Just one. I just got to get one more level. Oh, I can see that. I think I can get that strawberry.
Yeah.
And so that game just kept you coming back. So that's another great answer for Instant Classic for sure.
Yeah, man. So good. So good, dear listeners. If you haven't had a chance to play Celeste yet, get on it. It's very good. Now on to our next award, the Comeback Kid Award. Now this is the game that has made the greatest comeback. There's been a couple games that have had pretty rocky starts, but have managed to roll with the punches and get better and better and better as the months went on. So Adam, man, what game would you give the Comeback Kid Award to?
This is what I'm glad I thought about this game, because I was looking through my list and I'm like, I don't really, there's a couple options of, God of War is kind of an option out there for kind of rewriting the way that the franchise kind of plays out.
Yeah.
I mean, another game I played, Ni no Kuni 2 is another game that's kind of a sequel. Smash Ultimate again, just thinking about that one being more fresh. But the game I came around to, I mean, there's a lot of games that could be. But my answer is Super Mario Party for the Nintendo Switch.
Nice.
That is, I mean, anyone who is a fan of Mario Party and has played any of the last 3 or 4 installments know that they've been trash.
Mm-hmm.
And the mini games, while they may be fun, the way that they went about the board game, instead of like everyone was kind of together, it kind of took away the idea of just getting the main star, and you could get mini stars, and they really kind of ruined what made the cutthroat part of Mario Party that made it always a lot of fun when playing with friends. But this new one, they really hit it out of the park. They kind of go back to the basic board game method. Now, hopefully they'll come out with some more boards. They kind of limit that. Hopefully they'll kind of bring in some more mini games. I mean, it shouldn't be a hard thing to do some DLC for if they wanted to keep adding to it and make it a sustainable game like they do with a lot of games, whether that's Smash or even Mario. Rabbids Mario got some DLC. So hopefully they'll do some of that with Mario Party. But it went back to its roots, and it made Mario Party great again. I'm not to go off that little hashtag, but it is. Mario Party is great again. My wife likes to play it. We've had friends over and they're like, "Oh, let's play Mario Party." And we just laughed and had a good time. They didn't know what they were doing, but they're like, "Oh, I like the mini game." Well, of course, everyone loves the mini game part more than the board game dice rolling part, but kind of helping, who's going to get to the stars first. That cut. Oh, I just got a golden pipe. I'm going to cut someone off right before they get to it. Mario Party is fun again. So that's my Comeback Kid Award winner.
Right on. Yeah, I remember when that game came out and I was very worried about it because I played the Mario Party that was on the Wii U and I hated that game. Me and my wife we tried playing it and we tried enjoying it and we hated it. And we're like, we're done with Mario Party if this is how it's going to go. And then when this one came out, I was like, if it's anything like the last one, I don't want anything to do with it. But I was so pleased to hear that it had made a comeback and it kind of got back to its roots. So it's one game I still need to pick up. Actually, I still don't own it, and I need to pick it back up, or pick it up for the first time, and then pick it up again and again and again to play. As far as what I'm going to give the Comeback Kid Award to, I'm actually going to give this one to No Man's Sky.
Okay.
This is a game that when it first came out, didn't like it at all. I mean, I enjoyed it for a couple hours, but then I realized that there was no depth to the game, and it was just, I was like, well, okay, so the guy that made this basically lied to us. This isn't anything like what it was supposed to be. But man, they stuck to the game. They kept adding expansions. They kept improving the game. And I tried playing it again this year. And I will say this, the game is not for me by any stretch of the imagination. But the improvements that they made to that game, the stuff that they've added, the content that they've added, the way that they have supported that game is incredible. And I think it's a testament to, hey, you really shouldn't launch your games with high expectations that you can't meet. But at the same time, it's a testament to standing by your word, standing by your work, and making the game the best possible game that it can be. And I think it's a huge, excuse me, just a huge feat, really. Like I commend Hello Games and in supporting this game and making it the best version of that game that they can be. I know my friends who are really into it are loving the game and really enjoying it. And so I think it's cool that they did that, and I think it's one of the biggest comebacks of the year. So I give the Comeback Kid Award to No Man's Sky. And it's been a year of great games. It's also been a year of some not so great games. And so we have the Achilles Heel Award to give out tonight. The Achilles Heel Award is the game that hurt the franchise. Adam, this is kind of a sad award to give out, but man, what game would you give the Achilles heel award to?
No, this is kind of a hard one because there's not a lot of games that, again, I enjoyed most of the games that I played. There's not a time where I'm like, okay, I'm not playing this. I picked it up, set it right back down. Especially that were like franchise games. The only game that I'm looking at my list here that I really did that with was Nier Automata, and that wasn't because of anything other than it just wasn't for me. It was just a little too weird, and so there's not really any game that I'd say really did the franchise wrong, but that I played. So the game that I'm going to give this to, and some of you may be like, oh, you can't judge it, you haven't played it. Okay, fair enough. You can ignore everything I say if you really want. But I'm going to vote Fallout 76. And the reason I'm going to say that is I've watched people play it. I've seen the reviews. And it seems like from the outside and from watching guys who enjoyed Fallout 4, and I was watching some guys play this in the dorm, and I'm just like, this game looks janky as all get out. Like, he was swimming and his guy literally like flew out of the water. His body was still horizontal when he came out of the water. And I'm like, what in the world is happening? It looks janky. It looks dated. You would think, okay, Fallout 4, it looked a little bit dated, but okay, this is a second kind of, they probably used a lot of the same engine, but they should have been able to update some stuff. And it looked like it was a step backwards compared to even Fallout 4, which I know you platinumed it and you enjoyed it in some ways and had some areas where you didn't like it. So just going off of from Fallout 4 to Fallout 76, from what I have seen and what I've watched, it seems like a step back. So that's going to be my Achilles heel for kind of a step back for the game. So
yeah, man, excuse me. It has been quite a ride to see that game from launch to where they are now, and just the controversy surrounding, multiple controversies really surrounding the game with how they sent out the what is it, basically like a nylon bag or something instead of a canvas bag, that whole ordeal. There was a point where they were issuing refunds and then they stopped, and then they gave just really bad responses to some of the criticisms they got. Man, it almost reminds me of kind of Battlefront 2 when that came out, and how EA was, they got that most downvoted comment on Reddit with the whole like sense of pride and accomplishment stuff. It really is a nightmare in a way that I think Bethesda, they're gonna have to do something to fix this, because they've really been exposed. They've said that Fallout 76's engine is the same one they're going to use for Elder Scrolls 6, but after we've seen what Fallout 76 is, that makes people worried for Elder Scrolls 6. But you know what? I'm going to say Fallout 76 as well, because like you mentioned, I did get the Platinum Trophy for Fallout 4, and as much as I enjoyed Fallout 4 as much as I could, I had my issues with it. I wanted to be interested in Fallout 76, but it's just not Fallout. It lacks any of the charm from the past games, and it's just one that I have no interest in trying. I'm always interested in trying some of Bethesda's games, but I have no desire to try this one. And so Fallout 76 gets the Achilles heel award. I will say this, though. I will give an honorable, or I guess dishonorable mention to Mario Tennis Aces. A game
I thought about it.
That's another, excuse me. That's another game that just came out and completely underwhelmed people left and right. And even my friends who were super excited for the game were just like, yeah, this game is not that great. And I played the demo, and I'm like, if this is what the rest of the game is, I'm not interested at all. This is boring.
Here's my 2 cents. With Mario Tennis Aces.
Give it to me.
The gameplay was fun. The gameplay was actually, it was really well done. You felt like you were in a chess match whenever you were playing, because you had to counter the other shot that was coming. So there were a lot of things about that game that were really good. The gameplay, was one of them. But they kind of did their little story mode, and it was super lame. It was too easy. It wasn't challenging at all. Um, they had some good support. They had, like, if you played the game online each month, they kind of gave some new characters. So there was enough good about that game that I didn't want to say, because compared to, okay, as I think of Achilles heel and how you described it as a step back for the franchise, compared to the game that came out before, it was a step forward. And so maybe for Mario Tennis in general, it's not like a great, like, major step forward, but compared to the one that came out on the Wii U, that game was not good. It had no modes. It had so much bad about that game. So for looking at the franchise of Mario Tennis, I think Aces was a step forward compared to the last one. But in general, I would say that the game was fun for a season. It wasn't, I sold mine. Like, I played probably 50 matches online, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. It wasn't something I was going to go back to. Some people I know have it, so I can go play it there if I want, but it wasn't a game that was going to keep me around for very long. So but I get the beef.
Yep. It's a shame. I also want to shout out Mass Effect Andromeda, the game that I tried playing again this year, and man, it is still just a pile of garbage. That was just a cheap pot shot. I will move on. Our next award is the Sleeper Hit Award. This is the game that flew under the radar, the game that we played, we enjoyed, but it seemed like we were the only ones doing so. So, Adam, what game gets the Sleeper Hit Award for you?
Man, some good nominees here. I've got Wolfenstein 2. That's a good nominee for me. I really enjoyed that one. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Another game that I played that I really enjoyed. These are games, like, looking back, they came out, feels like so long ago. A Way Out was a interesting kind of co-op game that me and my buddy, when we played it, we had a ton of fun playing that game. I already mentioned Salt and Sanctuary. But the game that I'm going to give this award to for Sleeper Hit is Ni no Kuni 2. I've talked about it a lot on this podcast. Every time someone mentions Ni no Kuni in the Facebook group, I'm always like, yes, like, I really enjoyed the first one, which, again, looking at Adam's gaming taste, it is crazy that I like Ni no Kuni.
It's a pretty odd choice for you, yeah.
It's crazy, but the world is so endearing. The characters are fun. This one, they changed the complete gameplay model compared to the first one. And so that was a lot of fun. Just having a different way to play. It's not overly challenging, even though towards the end there was some good boss fights. I didn't feel like I had to go do all this grinding. It was pretty consistent leveling up as long as you did some side quests, and it made you want to build your kingdom. And so this is a game, if you like JRPGs, if you're interested in the series, you don't have to play the first one to play this one. You can play either one in any order. Check out Ni no Kuni 2. I've kind of been their little fanboy cheerleader in the Facebook group. There's even some guys recently that have mentioned it, and I'm like, yes, play it. It is a good game. If you like Japanese games, if you don't like anime and that stuff, you're not going to like it, which is crazy because I'm a guy who didn't like any of that, but the world is very endearing and sucked me in. So check it out. It's great.
Yeah, man. It's a fun fact. I forgot to mention this to you. So PlayStation Now is currently on sale. You can get it like $20 off for the like full year. And I signed up for it because I'm like, I want to try and not buy a whole lot of new games. Well, I don't want to try and buy no games. I want to curb my buying habits when it comes to games in 2019. And so I picked this up, or I subbed to PlayStation Now, and the first Ni no Kuni is on there. So my plan is for 2019 to play the first Ni no Kuni, beat that, and then go and play Ni no Kuni 2 and beat that. So
Ni no Kuni 1 is so good. I enjoyed that game so much.
You talked it up on the show quite a bit.
It's got great music. It's got a different type of gameplay, which I thought was a really big sell. So again, we got to stop, or I'm going to talk about Ni no Kuni.
I don't know. It'll turn into the Ni no Kuni hour with Adam. As far as my Sleeper Hit Award goes, I wanted to give it to Celeste, but I think there's a game that honestly deserves a little more recognition than what it got. And it's a game that I loved. When I got the game, I wasn't really sure what to expect, and I wasn't really sure if I was even going to like it. But it was one of my favorite experiences, and just a really charming and endearing story as I as I played through it. And that game is Owlboy. It's the game that you play as, well, Owlboy, and but it's such a cool game. It's like a 2D platformer with really great music, kind of a retro feel to it, and it's just a really good story of kind of believing in yourself to a degree. I think what I liked most about it is that the main character is deaf. He can't speak, but people tend to discount him and think that he can't do anything, but he winds up being the hero that his village needs, and him with his friends, and kind of a, what's the word? He just the way that he gathers his party of characters is so cool. It's so charming. It's so just, it's a it's a heartwarming story is really what it is. And the boss battles are really cool. They're unique. Owlboy is a really good game that I don't think got near the recognition that it should have. And it's one of my favorite games of 2018. And so I'm going to give the Sleeper Hit Award to Owlboy. You can get that on Steam, Xbox, PS4, Nintendo Switch. I played it on the Switch. I think that's the best platform to play it on because of the play and go capability. But it's a really good game. So that game is Owlboy. Gets the Sleeper Hit Award for me. Now we're getting down to our last 3 awards here. And we'll see if I can make it through. But the next award we want to give out is the Heartbreak Award. This award goes to the game that made us feel again, that just punched us right in the feels, made us shed a couple tears, and just made us realize that games can make us feel something. So Adam, what game would you give the Heartbreak Award to?
Again, some good nominees here. Celeste was on my short list, but I actually gave it to God of War.
Wow.
Like, that game hit me in all kinds of feels that we talked about on the episode. Just the relationship between boy and dad was great. Just some of those moments that they had where the son was kind of getting on the dad, but you also see the tension of Kratos wanting to console his son in different moments, but not being able to, or not feeling like he's able to. And so just that journey that they go on, I mean, it hit me in all the feels. And then just some of the twists and turns that it takes throughout the game. Yeah, that was my go-to. And I mean, again, there were some other really good nominees. And I'm sure all the dear listeners who finished Red Dead Redemption were only like, if you had 3 or 4 more hours to finish that story, I hear it really hits you in the feels. And the end of chapter 6 in that game is also a pretty emotional scene. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to God of War.
It's a good pick, boy.
Boy.
Did you see him at the Game Awards when they were giving out that
Yes.
award? So good.
That was funny.
So good.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, it's like you said, there's a lot of good games that I can give this award to. I played, I think it was January of this year that I finished Hellblade, and I would give it to that game, but I think there's a game that hit me even harder than that, that was a little more like, it just, I could relate a lot with it, and I'm going to give the Heartbreak Award to Celeste, actually, just because of the kind of internal struggle that the main character goes through, and how just the different characters are trying to help her, and just how she reacts to it. It's very relatable. I could relate to that kind of struggle a little bit, and it was just a really raw kind of representation of that kind of internal struggle of anxiety and things like that. And it kind of made me feel more okay with my own anxiety, because I've talked about it on the show quite a bit this year. And it just made me feel like, okay, I'm not like, yeah, there's something wrong to a degree, but when it comes to my faith in Christ, my identity in Christ, that doesn't make me less of a person. It just means that my brain works a little bit differently than other people, and so it's not anything to really be ashamed of. And so it's one of those cool games that just makes you think about that stuff. It just makes you shed a tear because you might be able to relate to it on a very deep level. But it's very empowering. It's very it's just a really good game. It just makes you think about that stuff as a Christian and kind of what your worth is in Christ, so to speak. So I'm going to give the Heartbreak Award to Celeste. Great little game. Now, the next award we have, and this one kind of confused some of our dear listeners on our Facebook page and Twitter, and that is the Carmen Sandiego Award. Now, for those of you that maybe didn't grow up in the 90s and have no clue who Carmen Sandiego is, it was this show where people were trying to find this thief called Carmen Sandiego who always managed to evade capture. And this is the game that we sort of got a little of a whiff of. We played for maybe a little bit, but then we got sidetracked, and that game eventually got away. We maybe sold it or traded it in or left it on our shelf and forgot about it. It's the game that we want to get back to, that we want to play, but it kind of got away in the process. So, Adam, what's a game that for you got away this year, even though you meant to get back to it?
Well, I'm currently searching for Carmen. In this one, I've been I've been on the hunt. I've been, I've spotted her here and there, for lack of better words. I've been on the tracking her down.
Yes, that red
that
coat,
game
man.
for me is Dead Cells.
Oh,
so it was a game that I trashed for a while because I'm like, why is this game so good?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't too bad on it, but I gave it a hard time. Somebody kept calling it Game of the Year when they were playing it, and I'm like,
I don't know who would do that.
I don't know who would that. But so I didn't play it. I bought it and I dabbled in it maybe a couple hours, but here recently I've actually began picking it back up, and I'm like, you know what, this game I've enjoyed it a lot more. It was really weird. I really wasn't getting very far, 2 or 3 levels in, and then when I picked it back up, I got, I was having a 30-minute, 40-minute playthrough without dying, collecting those cells. And so that made the game get more fun the further I was getting. And so it's a game I hope to get back to. We'll see now that I have a billion characters to unlock in Smash Brothers, because that's kind of taking all my Switch time. But I was getting back into it and I was enjoying it. So I think that's the game that got away. I do want to give it its fair shake, since I know a lot of people really enjoyed it. But my Carmen Sandiego Award would go to Dead Cells.
Yeah, that was a game that is good. Now that I've played other games, I don't know if I'd call it Game of the Year. But it's fun. It has its moments. I think for me, that's the thing about us, man. We play so much throughout the year that we can't really give a game too much time when we've got all these other games coming out. And one of the games that I played this year that I was actually really enjoying, but it just came out at a really bad time at the start of really this past season of when the new games were coming out this fall. And so I kind of got distracted and haven't gotten back to it just yet. And I really want to, because it's a cool game. And that game is Moonlighter. It's a game where man, how do you even describe this game? It's like, the gameplay is kind of like Binding of Isaac Rebirth, or maybe like the old school Legend of Zelda games where you go into the dungeons and you fight the enemies, and it's kind of procedurally generated, and as you clear bosses, you go to the next couple levels or the next dungeon or something like that. But there's a kind of marketplace management mechanic in it where the loot you get from the dungeons, you go back to your shop and you can put them up for sale, and that's how you get cash to upgrade your equipment, to buy new weapons, to buy new gear. And you really kind of have to play it with the whole supply and demand thing. If if your prices are too high, people won't buy your stuff. And even if your prices are too low, people will still buy it, but they're not actually happy. So there's a sweet spot that you have to find that I found to be very unique and really, really cool. I was really enjoying that aspect of it. And then new games started coming out, and I was picking those up and playing those to talk about on the show, and it just kind of got to the wayside, and I haven't gotten back to it just yet, and I really want to. So I'm going to give the Carmen San Diego Award to Moonlighter. Really cool little indie game. But without further ado, we have finally arrived at the TRG Game of the Year Award. This award goes without no explanation necessary. So, Adam, out of all the games that you have played this year, man, what game gets the Game of the Year Award?
What I want to do is I want to kind of just run through my nominees real quick and just talk about, these are in no order, specific order. My Game of the Year winner may even be in this. It's not just going to be, I'm not just going in from 5 down, but I think Celeste is up there for the reasons we've mentioned already. That game, who would have thought? Great game, great story, addicting gameplay. That's up there. Of course, God of War is going to be up there. The storytelling, the action, the one-cut reel, amazing game. Ni no Kuni 2, kind of a long shot, but a game I really enjoyed this year. Definitely up there, and my favorites. Spider-Man, another just amazing game. Again, talking about how I wasn't going to let it go without an award, because you give someone the controller and say, hey, press X to swing, and they immediately know what to do. It felt right. It felt like a fun, great Spider-Man game. And when's the last time? I mean, PlayStation 2 was the last really good Spider-Man game that we had. Red Dead Redemption, really good game. You kind of know my thoughts on it. It's not my winner, but I think it should be mentioned as honorable mention. I think it's done a lot of really good things, but it's not really a contender for me. And so, of those games that I've mentioned, this is not a surprise to you or anyone else, but my Game of the Year is God of War. When I played it, it rocked my world. The gameplay was so much fun. Going from the blades to the axe was a bold strategy, but it worked, and it felt so great destroying people with it. There was so much different ways that you could play that game because of the skills that you could unlock and the way that you could use Atreus to kind of help you in the gameplay. The just narrative that was going on between Atreus and Kratos, and then the storytelling that would go along with the guy, I don't remember his name, but the head that was kind of just with you all the time in the boat as you're going from place to place, the way that it paused, the lore of the Norse mythology, man, that was fantastic. I could go on, and I mean, it looked gorgeous. The game looked amazing. So I could go on and on and on and on, but that was my, not to take anything away from Celeste, not to take anything away from the other games that I mentioned, but God of War. I mean, Witcher has kind of been the game that I said has probably been my favorite game of the generation, along with like Horizon Zero Dawn. I think God of War may be my favorite game on the PS4 currently. So I loved this game, and I will get around to it again, and we'll play through it again. And so I'm excited to get to do that, which I rarely play games multiple times. But I want to go through that story again, because the father-son relationship is what set that game apart for me. And the tension that you have and the emotions, they do such a good job with it. So God of War is my Game of the Year.
Yeah, man. It's a good pick. Really good game. We did an episode on that, actually, dear listeners. I don't know if you guys have checked that out or not yet. We had Matt Millsap on to talk
good
about
episode.
that game.
That was one of our best episodes of the year.
Definitely one of my favorites. Now, Adam, let me ask you a question. Because you told me that if I say God of War is Game of the Year, you're going to reach through my headphones or the internet or something and like smack me or something. Does that hold true still to this day?
I mean, there was a minute, and it's probably recorded. So if a dear listener wants to find it, cut it up, send it to us, where you were like dogging this game, but oh no, it's not even in the top 5, yada 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 yada, and I'm just like, stop it. Like, stop it. Stop. First of all, it's just not true. Stop it. And so I will find a way to reach through this computer and smack you, but it's going to be a loving smack. It will feel good to smack you if you give God of War Game of the Year.
Oh, right on. I'm only curious. I was just wondering. I mean, here's the thing. Like you said, so many good games to pick from. this year that we've played, and some games didn't even come out this year, but we finally got around to them this year that we could give the Game of the Year award to. But it's just, I mean, how do you pick from all these different games? It's really like trying to pick your favorite piece of cheesecake. It's like, which one has a little bit better spice to it? I will give props to God of War. It is a cool game, and the father-son relationship in it, as we've talked about in that episode we did, was really, really good. It was really well done, and it definitely kind of makes you think about biblical manhood and what does that look like to be a father and things of that nature, and to care for your son. But I think for me though, it's a game that when I think about it, I just think about how I was grinning from ear to ear as I played it, how the moment to moment gameplay just kept me glued to the screen, even though it may have done a couple things or added a couple segments in there to break up the gameplay in a way that for some is really jarring and is a turnoff for some. But for me, I enjoyed it. I just found myself glued to this game and grinning from ear to ear, and just by the time the credits rolled, I was in tears. I was just like, what a ride this game was. And that game is Spider-Man. That's my Game of the Year, man. Just, even with the DLC, I keep coming back to it, and with the new suits and stuff, and I'm like, I just want to keep playing this game. It's so much fun to play, and I just love being Spider-Man. I love seeing him. It's one of the things that makes Spider-Man great, is we could all see ourselves as Peter Parker. He's this guy that's trying to make ends meet. He's trying to take care of the people he loves, and he's trying to, live up to the responsibility of being Spider-Man at the same time. And oftentimes that makes him tired, exhausted, to the point where he overworks himself. But he's just trying to do the best he can. And man, I think that's a story that we can all relate with. And just the story in that game of how Peter, well, this is going to get into spoiler territory. So you guys can go listen to the episode we did on Spider-Man. But yeah, it's phenomenal game, man. Oh man, so good. So good. Can't wait for the last DLC piece to drop this month. But yeah, Spider-Man gets Game of the Year for me. So there you go, dear listeners. God of War and Spider-Man both getting TRG Game of the Year award, which is really, our opinion is the only one that matters. So there you go. Go play those games and enjoy. But yeah, one thing I do also want to do as well, because we kind of forgot to do this last episode, and it's just, like I said, a crazy season. I want to hand out the award for the best podcast community to you listening to this podcast right now, the dear listeners. Seriously, you guys, this was a year that for us, we starting Patreon especially, it was one of those things that I was terrified to start because I didn't know what kind of support we would get. I didn't know if we would get any support. And I know that our dear listeners have been there for us in years past, and they really step up and show up when the time comes. But I was talking to my wife about this, just thinking about how awesome this community is. Adam, me and my wife were talking about how our community surrounded you and your wife and supported you guys through your adoption process, and we were praying for you guys. Even supporting you guys financially and doing that stuff. It's stuff like that makes this community unique, that makes us grateful for you guys. Me and Adam can sit here and talk about games all we want, but I don't know that we would do a podcast if you guys weren't there listening to us every other week and checking in on us, hanging out in the community. And we've met some really great friends through this podcast. I still think about how me and Wesley Ray geek out over Digimon every now and then when like a new game comes out, even though it may not be that great, but we still geek out over it. It's just some of the friendships, man. It's good stuff. And it gets me teared up a little bit, so maybe I should call this Make Logan Cry Award. I don't know. But seriously, dear listeners, thank you guys for supporting us in 2018 and really since the start of this podcast. Without you guys, I don't think we would be here. But one other thing we do need to do as well, as always, is that if you support us on Patreon, you get an episode where we shout you out. We thank you for your continued support. over on Patreon, because you guys help us keep the show, the fees and stuff paid for. You guys help us get games to talk about on the show. You guys help us in a variety of ways, and we really appreciate that. So for those of you supporting us on Patreon, we like to shout you out, give you a thank you on the air. And those people are Alex Castellanos, Alex Hooper, Caleb Schmidt, Christopher Commander, David Skinner, Derek Coppinger, Derek Smith, Eric Bryant, which, by the way, Eric Bryant, happy birthday, good sir. Gareth Evans, Jake Walker, Jeff Wofford, Jesse Penu, Josh Broccolo, Luke Strain, Matthew McDougall, Micah Hendrick, Michael Toller, the Jet Islander podcast, and Wesley Ray. Guys, thank you so much for supporting us on Patreon and helping us keep the show going. We greatly, greatly appreciate it. But Adam, as we bring this episode to a close and we transition over into 2019, man, what are some recos, man, for our dear listeners? What should they check out?
I got one quick one for you parents with kids, probably 2 and under. This is an applicable one. There's a series on Netflix that we like to watch. It's called Little Baby Bums. It is Ren's favorite show.
What?
It sucks her in. It's basically nursery rhymes and counting songs and stuff, but we love it. It's great. So check out Little Baby Bums. And then if you're interested and you can find a good deal, man, find a PSVR. I'm loving it. Logan's loving it.
Absolutely.
It's a great time.
Dude, it's so weird at how I thought PSVR was going to be stupid and gimmicky like the Kinect, but then I played one and was like, this is amazing. This is like one of the coolest gaming experiences. I better hurry up before I... Sorry, dear listeners. As far as my recos go, it's been a while since I've shouted out some podcasts on this show, and there's been a couple that I've been listening to recently, getting back into one in particular. And so I want to shout them out. I want to direct you guys to them if you're not listening to them already. The first one is Backlog Breakdown, done by our friends Nate McKeever and Josh Broccolo. If you guys want to go check them out, they talk about how they're doing with their backlogs, both in video games and kind of like books and things like that. So it's kind of like our show, with a little bit of a different spin to it. Some of their episodes they did recently talking about community and how you need to stop playing games and go hang out with people, or even just leave the house for a while. I thought it was a really good episode. It convicted me a little bit, and I told them that if they're going to have episodes that convict me, I'm going to stop listening. I was joking, of course, but that's one, Backlog Breakdown. The other one I want to talk about, or reco, is Coin a Geek, done by our friends Elliot Hillis and Daniel, I forgot his last name. Anyway, they're out of Apologia Church, so go check them out. Coin a Geek. They're kind of more in the style of Kind of Funny, where they talk about the news, but they do it from a biblical perspective as well, which is really cool. They just had Joy from Sheologians on there, which is a really good discussion on games as art. Really cool stuff, so check them out. The other one I want to reco as well is Popcorn Theology. Maybe you're already listening to them. If you're not, it's a show how do I describe this? They review movies from a Christian perspective. So movies like Venom, It, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? All sorts of different movies. They talk about them from a biblical perspective. And I want to particularly shout them out because some craziness with Facebook happened over the past couple of weeks where Facebook messaged them and was like, hey, your Facebook group is just gone because it violated community standards. We're not going to tell you why, but your group is gone. Ridiculous antics by Facebook that's got me reconsidering where we focus our efforts as a podcast. But go check out Popcorn Theology. They got a Patreon as well. Go support them on there, on that, and check them out. Really good show. Richard's a cool guy. So there you go. 3 podcasts for you to check out over the winter break. Backlog Breakdown, Coin a Geek, and Popcorn Theology. Dear listeners, go check those guys out. Go check our friends out and enjoy that stuff. But hey, thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. Thank you for checking us out all year long. If you like what we do here on the show and you'd like to lend some support, head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers, where just support even as low as $1 helps us keep the lights on, keep the controllers charged, and keep the fridges stocked with plenty of Red Bull so we can get those platinum trophies. Perks and things like, excuse me, perks and things like that. When you pledge, get you things such as like bonus episodes of the show throughout the month and year. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Get early uncut access to episodes, get access to our Patreon Discord, get access to our behind-the-scenes episodes, and more things like that. Just head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers and check us out. As always, you can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch just by typing in whatever those website URLs are, followed by the Reformed Gamers. You can follow us on YouTube, twitch.tv, and Facebook page as well. On Twitter, it's twitter.com/TRG podcast. You can follow us on there as well. And head over to the website, thereformedgamers.wordpress.com. Make sure you follow it because it'll be going through some changes in 2019, looking all spiffy. And that WordPress part of the URL is going away. So we'll let you know when that happens. So head over to the website, follow us on there, check us out. Adam, man, what a great year it's been. Looking forward to 2019. But dear listeners, until next time, GG and amen. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Reformed Gamers. This show is brought to you independent and ad-free thanks to our lovely dear patrons over on patreon.com. The following people are at the producer level or higher on Patreon, and we'd like to especially thank them. Those people are David Skinner, Eric Bryant, Gareth Evans, Luke Strain, the Jet Islander Podcast, and Wesley Ray. Thank you so much for your continued support on Patreon, and thank you for encouraging my addictive habit of getting platinum trophies. GG and amen.